Again, welcome to Research Methods in Computers and Society. This is CS312 for Pace University. In these lectures, we're going to discuss about data collection for quantitative research. Again, our previous lectures, we discussed about three different types of research. That's quantitative, which normally deal with quantitative data. And also we talk about qualitative research, which normally deal with qualitative data or categorical data. Then also we have the mixed research, which normally is a combination of quantitative and qualitative research. And we say that if we are doing a research that we want to understand details about the studies, the phenomena, or a new idea, most likely we are going to use qualitative. Quantitative mostly deal with numerical analysis, data analysis. And also, again, we have the mixed research. So data collection, again, there are so many ways of collecting data. And we have two types of data, the primary data and also the secondary data. Primary data is the data that we originally generated or collected. For example, using a survey or online system to collect data from participants. And secondary data are normally data that has been used by other researchers. So this data is already being used in the studies and it's available online. Most of the time it's available online for public to access it and also use it. And so, for example, the most common places you can get a data set, for example, in the medical field, if you are doing computational biology or bioinformatics, if you go to NIH, National Institute of Health, we can get a lot of data about protein, genes that has been used in the research. Or in the public health, we can go to CDC, Center for Disease Control. And also there are so many, again, there are so many online resources in different fields of studies, engineering, retail, banking, etc. And one of the common two institutions where data is also available can be the Stanford University have a nice database for computational biology or microarray data set in Stanford University database system. Also, if you go to University of California, Irvine, that's UCI, they have a machine learning data repository data set, database system. Actually, I like that database system because they have so many secondary data in different fields of studies, either medicine, engineering, marketing, retail. You can name so many. Normally, if you Google UCI machine learning data set, and you will get a hint. So in this lectures, we are not going to discuss about how to collect a secondary data because again, secondary data are available online, but how to collect a primary data set, original data. So our main objective is to review the characteristics of experimental research. Also, we're going to describe the steps necessary in preparing and also collecting data using a questionnaire. Also, we are going to compare and contrast the different methods of data collection. So first, we start with experimental research. In experimental research, here we say that a group is exposed to a variable of studies. Example, we are testing a new drug or we are trying out an intervention. The good thing with experimental research is that we tend to almost eliminate the confounding variable. And also experimental studies normally allow us to study the cause and effect, not only association or relationship between two or more variables. So that's why here we mention, example can be testing a new drug. So here we have the new drug, we are going to again administer it, give it to agent, biological agent, and we're going to see the reaction after some period of time. So experimental research is very good. if you are doing a research that you want to know the causa effect, what variable causes the outcome, not association. Also, we must assess whether any changes observed in the experimental group are due to the experimental condition. So this is where, again, the confounding variable concept or the locking variables comes in. Again, we talk about confounding variable, but to make it short again, confounding variable is a variable that may have an association with the outcome, but it's not the cause of it. It doesn't cause it. So example would be, we know in summer in Florida or Miami, shark attack increases in summer. At the same time, in summer, the sales of ice cream also increase or goes up. So now we cannot say that because of shark attack, that's why the sale of ice cream goes up. But they have association. In the summer, both of them increase. In the winter, both of them decrease. Again, here we have a confounding variable, or we have the main variable that causes these two associations, which would be the weather. So when the weather increases, it causes the sale of ice cream, and also it causes the increase on shark attack. So this is the main issue that experimental research helps us to eliminate if possible. Most observational research, we cannot eliminate the confounding variable, but we do our best to reduce it. We have something we call residual confounding variable. Residual confounding variable means after we try to adjust our variables to eliminate the confounding variable, we're still going to have some left, and those are called the residual confounding. So we need, in terms of experimental research, we need to follow ethical consideration. And I think here we say when conducting experimental research, we should be very vigilant about ethical issues. When we talk about ethical issues, we are talking about the safety of the participants in the research, especially if this research involves a human being, a person, or even a biological agent. We may consider the protection of the person, the security of the person, also privacy. Privacy is very important, confidentiality of information, data. So we need to consider the ethical consideration. And most important, also, we have a lot of regulations or rules that we need to follow when we are doing experimental research that involve human beings. For example, when we are doing research in an institution, such as thesis or dissertation, we may need to sign the IRB. And the IRB, again, is the regulation pertaining to ethical issues involved in your research. Even if you are doing research in computer science that doesn't have any human being involved, we still need to fill out the form. So, example, in our institution, we have the IRB office that we need before thesis or any research. We need to apply for it. Also, that's what comes in with we should treat participants with respect, notify participants about risk, obtain a consent to participate. Again, if you go to this website, the link here, City Program, they offer even a certification program in research ethical issues or IRB concept, and they offer. So again, you can get a lot of information on this link. But I think the main three things are here: the security, safetiness, and also privacy of the subjects that are taking part in the research process. We also have the Quantitative experimental research. Here we say experimental designs, namely our ability to randomly assign participants to control, and also the experimental groups. that are not possible in every context. So in this case, collecting data through questionnaire, we can conduct surveys, which is the most common procedure for data collections, particularly in, again, social science. Surveys, in this case, we can prepare questionnaires either in person or through telephone or online. So a survey refers to the method of data collection. A questionnaire is the instrument that contains the questions. So when I'm going to take a survey, we have a population, I'll take a survey of a sample. Let's say we have a population of 1,000, maybe I may take a sample of 100 and take data from them. This is a survey. If I can go individually in person and distribute the questionnaire, or I can do it through telephone or, again, online. So we have two types of questionnaires. Untested questionnaires, that is non-standardized survey questionnaires. This is questions that I came up with, but it's not standardized. Then we have tested questionnaires. These are questionnaires that has been tested. So they have a standard. It's a standardized survey questionnaires. Example can be mathematics, writing or reading tests we complete in school. So how do we design questionnaires? There are some steps we have to follow, up to 9 steps. So the first steps here, we say we should develop a list of constructs. That's very important. This will examine our hypothesis and develop a list of constructs to be measured. And also, example will be if we hypothesize a gender influences college students' choice of major. If a gender, again, influences the college student choice of major, then a gender is one construct. And what? A major also is another construct. And other constructs of interest may be race, age, parental education, and so on. So it's very important that the first step in designing questionnaire is to come up with a list of constructs. And this is a very nice example. We said, okay, there's a possibility that gender may influence the college students' choice of major. So if this is the case, we may come up with a construct based on, again, the gender first, male and females, and also the type of majors. Then who knows? A male or female have a different race, the characteristics of them, their race, their age, their parental education, their background, or in this case, we call it their demography information data, because that also can have influence on choosing the major. Now, after we develop our construct, the next step is to determine how each of the constructs that we develop will be accurately measured in question form. So we have to determine how each of the constructs will be accurately measured in question form. So here we can search for established instrument measuring these constructs. Example, if it's a census data or Centers for Disease Control questionnaires. Also, we need to examine the literature to find examples of other constructs. Then lastly, we need to review the appropriateness of the instrument based on your research goals, and also the appropriateness of the instrument for your sample. So we can see the 2 steps. I think most important is coming up with all the possible constructs. We saw the example if gender can influence choice of college major. So we can say gender is one construct, college major is one construct. Gender can be male or female, but within the male or female, we can have other characteristics. So maybe the race, level of income of parents, any background, again. So now we move to step 3. We have went through the 2 steps. The next thing we need to do now, we need to think of all possible answers to these questions. First, we came up with a construct. From the construct, we were able to come up with all the characteristics around our construct. From there, we were able to generate lists of questions. Now we have to think of the possible answers to the questions. So some questions may be simple. Answers should be always mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive means when one answer choice do not overlap with each other. So we have a list of questions. We make sure that two questions don't have the same answer. Now, the next step is designing questionnaire step 4. Here, we need to avoid misleading, also socially desirable, double barrier questions, or overly technical terms. Again, technical terms again may depend on your participants, your subjects in the research studies, maybe their level of education or their professional field. So here we say the words questions must be very clear. Also, grammatically correct. We should avoid leading or biased language. Technical terms can confuse some participants. Again, depends on the education level, their knowledge. Also, we should avoid double barrier questions. Ask about multiple concepts in one question, but only allow one answer. This is the concept of mutually exclusive also. Now, we should consider the language literacy needs of your population. Step 5, we need to organization that attracts and hold participants' attention. Again, organization that attracts and also holds participants' attention. So here we need to consider the order of the question. The goal here is to organize the questions. Sometimes we may have a survey, we say, okay, if we have a survey and we start with difficult questions or a very long questions, maybe the participants may feel the motivation will not be there to answer the questions. So again, they may stop the survey. So most of the time in survey, we try to bring simple questions and very short questions first. Then later on in the middle, you come up with a little bit difficult questions. At the end, maybe more simple questions or conclusion. So here they say, consider the ordering of the questions in your survey. Example, combine all the demographic question at the end after the attention-grabbing questions. Because demographic questions, maybe some participants, they don't feel like reviewing it. For example, where you are living, your income level, your age, etc. Maybe they don't feel too much interest and motivation to answer those questions. So we bring more interesting questions about the studies. Then at the end or in the middle of the questionnaires, we can come up with a demographic question. Now, each question should be organized together by category. So what I mean is that demographic questions, I may not ask, what is your age, question 1. Then question 10, I'll ask, what is your income or what is your race? I will make sure that I will, again, combine all the demographic questions together. So your age, your race, income, etc., they are all together. Also, we should follow a logical continuity. Group all the religious question together, and that's what I mean. Demographic question all together. Whatever subjects the study is about, we group all those questions also together. Now, we should be careful by using only scale measurements. Example, this would be something like ordinal data or in order, strongly agree, or agree, or over likely, very unlikely, over unlikely, and we should try to, again, be careful of how we use it. As participants may start skipping or answering questions repeatedly. The next step, step 6, is again the clarity. Clarity. So here we have to make sure the questions are clear, simple, and they lack ambiguity. They are lacking ambiguity. Also, when questions are difficult to understand, participants may do what? Become frustrated. So, should be clear, very simple, and lack difficulty. We should construct short questions when possible. Construct short questions when possible. Step 7, attention to contingency questions. We should pay very attention to contingency questions. So contingency questions are follow-up questions. So creating these types of questions require you to think ahead. For example, do you use psychiatric medications, yes or no? If the participant choose yes, we may follow up and ask about the types of medication they use. So we should be very careful, attention to follow-up questions or contingency questions. We are not saying that we shouldn't include it. If it's necessary and we really need this information, we will surely include it, but we have to be, again, careful how we use it. Then step 8, we are going to create an answer scale. So when measuring attitudes or measuring a belief or opinion, group the answers in a scale. So for example, we can use the Likert scale or any type of scale system. So here we say the Likert type scales or likability scales. Example, scales from very likely to unlikely in scales of 4 or 5 are usually utilized. Also, we should remember to create a scale that measures the same concept, because different concepts can create confusions from a minimum to a maximum. So if we are using a Likert type scale, it's possible we just use that throughout, or likability scales, that's fine. Also, we have to consider the number of response choices, odd or even. To force participants to pick a choice is even, or to allow a neutral point for participants to pick is odd. And lastly, we should make sure the answers are inclusive of all options. So here again, step 8, our goal is to create an answer scale. The most common scale that I always see, which is very common, is the Likert type scales. Then step 9, we are going to conduct a pretest to test the instrument. In this case, our instrument will be the questionnaires. Questionnaires is the instrument for the survey. So we are going to conduct a pretest to evaluate the instrument. Now we need to test our instrument with a group of people. This will allow you to assess how long it takes to complete your instrument. I think this is very important. The time it will take approximately to complete the survey. Any issues in questions understanding. Any issue with participants' discomfort. So these are the 3 most important things we have to find out when we are testing our tool, which in this case is the questionnaires for the survey. Now, if you enter your data after you collect it, this also allows you to identify issues that may arise. So pre-test our questionnaire is very important, especially we don't want issue with the participants feeling discomfort based on the type of questions, or maybe too much questions, or taking too long. So how long it takes to complete your instrument is very important. So we have different methods of data collection. As we saw, preparing the tool, the questionnaires for the survey. Again, we went through the 9 steps. The goal of this is to come up with a very effective questionnaires that we are going to use for the survey. Now, there are so many ways, as we said earlier, to collect data. We can collect it face by face. That means going to the field, get the data using the tool, in this case, the questionnaire, or we can prepare the questionnaire electronically, whereby we may use a website to collect the data, or we can also use telephone. So the first is personally collecting information. Go to the field and get the data. Interact with your participants, or computer-assisted telephone interviews. So this will be through telephone, or the venture collection of data. This can be using a website. And we have so many websites, at least a major 3 websites that we can even use most of the time free of charge for collecting or playing and getting a survey online. So first we say that personally collecting information can be very difficult. It takes time, especially if your sample is very large. You need to go to the field, interact with each person, each participant. This is widely employed by researchers. And also researchers will approach people individually and ask them questions verbally or ask them to complete a questionnaire. Another method also is by observing the participants. So for example, I want to do a research on in a medical field or any field about some process, some functions. What I will do, I don't have no questionnaire and I'm not going to ask the participants, but I'm going to observe them, how they are doing the functions, how they are doing the tasks, the process of the tasks, and I can collect data also. The advantage in, again, personally collecting information include the ability to note, most important, body language. As we said, we can also collect data using observation. Sometimes body language can be a problem. When a participant knows that he is being observed, maybe he will change his behavior more positively. But if he doesn't know that he's being observed, then he will do as usual. He will be himself or herself. So personally collecting information, I think one of the advantages, noting a body language. Even facial expression also means something. So record impressions and also keep records, maximize the participation in study, and maximize completion of the questionnaire. You go to the field, so here you are interacting with the participants. Now, disadvantage is the cost and time. It will take time and it costs, because again, you are going to the field. But the rest of the two, through telephone or virtually, the disadvantage is the participant. I may receive a survey electronically. I may delete the email, or I may not. But when you go to the field, I mean, it's more better. So the next is the computer-assisted telephone interview. This involves collection of data electronically. We can have an interview conducted by a computer. Also, it can be a person also. Even when using this method, it is critical that interviewers be trained well. Interviewers need to, again, consider the familiarity with the content. Also be mindful of bias and judgment. Set a comfortable environment and also the tone. Not lead the participants. Now, with the virtual data collection, this is online surveys. Today, they are very popular. Actually, we do most of our everyday activities now through online, from shopping, banking, you name it, working online, etc. So online surveys is very popular now, and also can access a large number of participants in a matter of minutes with a higher response than face-to-face data or telephone collection. Limitations include the fact that many people do not have access to the internet. So that would be another issue. The fact that people who feel strongly about an issue will be more likely to participate, and the researcher cannot guarantee participant confidentiality. But again, online is one of the common way of doing survey now. So these are some of the websites that are, especially SurveyMonkey is very, very popular, very common. We can also use surveypro.com or zoomerank.com also. These are our online survey website that, again, you can generate your own survey through their website. So survey development consideration, what we need to consider when we are doing survey, we should always start with a clear introduction that includes a steady focus, the main objective of the studies. And also, we should assure the participants of confidentiality, even security protection. Create consistent and also visually appealing questions. Here we want to appeal again or motivate participants to be able to again conduct the survey. We need more participants. So we need to create a very consistent and visually appealing questions. Also, we should be mindful of requiring answers to questions. And also we should consider the ethical implication of doing this. The ethical implication of doing this, ethics. So this will be the conclusion of our Unit 7 lectures, which again is based on data collection or collection of data in quantitative research. So in these lectures, again, we discuss about what is experimental research, the tools that we can use to collect data in terms of survey. We talk about different steps of doing questionnaire, preparing an effective questionnaire too. We saw the 9 steps of doing that. And again, these lectures cover chapter 7 of our course textbook. Again, if you have any question, you can send an email or use the Blackboard message and send your question. So again, wish everybody the best and thank you for your time.